All right, let's get this out of the way. This is a big and long game, and I did not want to capture that much footage. So I'm just going to use mostly the first few minutes of the game here while I talk about things I like with trying to avoid spoilers as best I can. I will get to later on things that I disliked, and I will go into more spoilery detail on that, so I'll throw a warning up. But here in the beginning, I'm going to talk more in like broad terms about things I liked, and then I'll move into things I dislike, and I'll get to how I would fix the things I dislike. So it's like likes, dislikes, things I'd fix. So overall, I really appreciated this game. I'm a huge fan of the older, somber, more contemplative Kratos that both struggles against fate and his nature. I enjoyed his struggle to be a father in the previous game, and watching him kind of embrace his role while developing his son into his own man, I thought was an excellent take on the character and felt very organic given the previous game. Some of my favorite moments in this game are where like Kratos reflects on his previous actions and struggles, and he doesn't know quite how to move forward, and whether or not it's like fate, which he doesn't believe in, or if it's his own nature that propels him and his son forward. A lot of cool stuff in that. My favorite moments are probably just where like Kratos is actually talking with other characters, and just reflects on like everything that's led him up to that moment. And those are like easily the best parts. The overall main story I think is fine. It's very serviceable for like an action adventure kind of game. The cast is overall very good. The settings are fine. I mean, this is an action, this is God of War. Essentially, you're fighting in like long corridors, and those long corridors look nice. So there's, what you're getting into. My big issue, and this is in like the dislikes category, because I like pretty much all of it, but my dislikes are the pacing of the game, at least for me. Like, following up huge action sequences with moments of like introspection is nothing new in storytelling, and the game mostly does a good job of dealing with the consequences of violence. My problem with the pacing is that there are just too many side quests. Way too many side quests. And the maps just keep unfolding and getting larger and larger while adding more side quests, many of which are not even related to the main story. Now, I get it. No one's forcing me to play these side quests, but come on, most of us probably do them in the order I did, where, new section, explore, new quest, explore, right? I mean, that's just how games like this are structured, and they know it. Most of us want to complete as many side quests and explore as much of the map as possible before the credits roll. So this is by far my biggest complaint, and oftentimes it actually made me turn the game off, thinking I just didn't want to spend 4 hours exploring this new area that just opened up, especially as the game progresses in the it becomes clearly like the events, they stack on top of each other, and the narrative drives like further and further into like desperation. But like, of course, a new area unlocks. I'm going to go look into it because I don't want to miss any lore that could affect the ending. But it turns out so many like almost none of these things really play into the lore. So they end up being just like giant time sinks. And I found myself, like I said, sitting down and being like, no, I'm not going to spend another 4 hours exploring this area. I will turn the game off and I will come back to it like Saturday morning with coffee, which is how I spent most of this game. So overall, really like the game. Too many side quests, and I didn't really care for the side quests because, like I said, I thought they were unrelated to it. It took me about 41 hours to beat the game, and I did as many side quests as I could, which is now going to lead me into a little bit of some spoilery talk, all right? A lot of these quests can't be finished until after you beat the main story, the Ragnarok story. And the game very clearly intends to have like a huge amount of post-game content. So I would think that instead of having such huge expansive side quest areas, why not keep the game tightly focused on the Ragnarok main story and then use the massive side quest areas for the post-game content, much like they did in Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. If you've ever played that game, there's a huge main story. It took me about 80 hours, and then like, would you like to do the post-game content? I said yes. It's an additional about 40 hours that involves like more of the world lore. So there's no reason with God of War Ragnarok clearly wanting you to do post-Ragnarok content, they couldn't have made that a separate focus. There's even a narrative component to having Kratos go around and do more of these heal the realm style events, because they imply at the end, and again, if you haven't beaten the game, this is a spoiler, that there is a path to Kratos becoming a true and revered god in these lands. Now, wouldn't it make more narrative sense to have them at the end of the Ragnarok event as he's traveling the realm trying to heal it? Like, we don't need all these side quests like this. I think specifically about Vanaheim. Did we need a third section of Vanaheim, the crater? You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It is so close to the end of the main story. And like, the last time you were in Vanaheim was some excellent optional side quest stuff with bringing Freya back into the fold and dealing with her trauma. And it was just placed better and it felt more appropriate. And it was like, it didn't feel like we were like, well, we have to go now. Like the crater section really took me out of it. It's not even connected to the main narrative, but it does have a strong personal connection to Kratos. So my suggestion would be streamline the Ragnarok story. Then open up more of these side areas where it can be more personal things. Kratos traveling the realm, trying to heal it, becoming a more true god. Like, I think, again, I'm going to harp on the crater a lot because that was a very specific story where it turns out Kratos is somewhat following in the footsteps of his deceased wife. I just think it works better to have all these side quests that are not character driven, but are like world sort of expanding, but not important to the Ragnarok story, as a basis for like, oh, here's Kratos healing the realm, traveling with Freya as she is like now like a one true queen. I mean, you even have to like go and get the fragments of like Asgard. So you could have your whole side content being like, all right, we need to get rid of the remnants of Asgard and we need to get rid of the Valkyrie queen because she's trying to rally the forces and harm the realm. So by doing so, not only do you have Kratos and Freya going around developing their characters in, I think, a more appropriate setting, you also kind of can like build towards Kratos as a revered god. And you could even do something cheap, like, you know, like when you beat like that post-game content, it could end with something saying like God of War, like All Father, or like, you know, something, I don't know, something punchy, you know, Poochie sound good to everyone, you know, like that kind of thing. But that was it. I enjoyed the game, but I really think if they had focused firstly on the Ragnarok story and then had put so many of the side quests in as post-game content, you could have wrapped up that Ragnarok angle, and then you could have jump-started the here comes Kratos being a legitimate and revered god to the people of the realms. Save the heal the realm stuff for the post-game. Those are my thoughts on it. I don't know if you guys think the same way I do. Let me know. It was an interesting game in general, and my time wasn't wasted playing it, but I did think too many side quests dragged me out of the main story one too many times. All right. Thanks for listening.